Welcome to Weeping Willow Homestead and the first garden tour for this year, 2025. I had fully intended on planting a smaller garden this year. I just need a year of not having quite so much to take care of, but this is me I was talking about. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking, because me plant a small garden? Ha! Yeah, right. Or at least a smaller garden. It didn't happen. I planted just about as much as I normally do. So I did kind of adjust what I planted and planted some easier things. But yeah, so this is the smaller of our two gardens. This is what we call the kitchen garden because it's right outside our back door, like maybe 50 feet out our back door. And the intention with the kitchen garden is supposed to be that these are the things that you plant and you take directly in the kitchen and eat, not like things that you're going to can or put up. So far out of the 4 or so years that we've had this garden, that's not how it's worked. Because yeah, it's just not. A lot of times this is the garden that I plant things in first, though, because I generally don't till this garden. We're kind of do more of like we put sawdust on it and we put wood chips on it, and we're kind of trying to build this garden up to make it a little bit healthier. And then we do run our chickens on both of our gardens during the winter, so that they can till, eat whatever's left, debug, all of that stuff. So yeah, this garden has kind of gotten away from me a little bit. And part of it is because this is where we planted potatoes last year, and we must have not done a very good job of digging potatoes, or all of like the little bitty ones that we left have planted themselves, because there are gobs of volunteer potatoes down on this end of the garden. And I've actually come through, and you can see I dug some yesterday because the plants were ready, but like there's potato, that's potato. There's one there, like all through here. There's just a bunch of them. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to let these go and see what happens. In there is also, there's one, and there's one over there, our zucchini, where I just found some blank spots in there that didn't have any potatoes growing in it, and went ahead and planted potatoes. I have spent the last couple of days out here weeding and getting things a little bit slightly better looking, because yeah, it's a weedy mess. And it was just, we had, I think pretty much the whole country we're on the 3rd week of having temperatures 85 or higher pretty much every day. And some of those days were heat indexes over 100. So, so yeah, it has made for a lot of the garden just go into pot, and I've been working on it. So this is a row of zinnias, because you can never have too many flowers. There are 4 different cherry or grape sized tomatoes. I know that there is a yellow pear tomato. There's going to be one that's like a black cherry tomato, and then a couple others. And I purchased one from I did not start any seeds. That was the other thing this year. The room that I normally start seeds in is the room that we have had under construction for almost a whole year now, where we're just doing it a little bit at a time as we can afford it, and as the help that we have doing it is, this is not their full-time job. They're just kind of starting out as doing construction work. He's done it before, but for other people, so he knows what he's doing. It's just as they are able to work. So it's just taken forever. But anyway, that was the room that I normally start seeds in. I put up a shelf and start seeds, and I did not have that as an option this year. So I bought one tomato from a local greenhouse. One I got from a friend, and then 2 I got from another friend. So, yeah, it's one of those where I just didn't label them because I don't really care. I know they're all cherry tomatoes, and I know we're just going to come out and pick them and eat them. So, yeah. All right, so that's cherry tomatoes, and they are starting to set on tomatoes now, which is nice. This is potatoes that I planted on purpose. Before I realized that I had all these volunteer potatoes coming up, I had potatoes from last year that we had grown, and they were shooting out eyes and not any good to eat anymore. So I went ahead and planted this section, and that end still needs a little bit of weeding done. And they're getting close to being done. Generally, what you look for is see how the plant here is turning brown? You want the whole plant to turn brown, and then you can wait up to a couple of weeks after that. You got to watch the weather, because if you let the whole plant go brown and then it rains a bunch, they'll start rotting in the ground. So you don't want to wait that long, but you can wait a couple of weeks and it not be an issue. This is a volunteer radish. Why is it trying to focus on my hand so bad? A volunteer radish, and I am just leaving that, and I'm going to let it go to seed. And then I'll save the seed from it. The little seed pods are actually edible, and they're really good pickled or like put in a salad, that kind of thing. So I will do some of that with them. But then I'm also just going to save seed and have them for later. And then I went to Rural King and purchased onion sets this spring. They're all yellow onion sets. I think there were like 120 of them or so. Obviously not all of them always come up, but they are also getting close-ish to being done. That's one of the nice looking ones there at the end. And I got this weeded today. You can see all the dead weeds over here. And there are a couple of different ways that you can weed. You can pull them up and throw them in your compost. You can pull them up and drop them like this and use them as more weed barrier. We have grass down, but even with the grass, like, stuff gets up through it. Or you can do what's called chop and drop, which is if you have really, really thick weeds, you can cut it off and then lay the weeds on top of where you just cut off, and it'll help suppress the roots from coming back. But anyway, the onions are looking good. When these are done, I will chop them all and freeze them rather than trying to keep them. These, when you plant from sets, they tend to not keep as well, like just hung and dried. So I will chop them all up and freeze them, and then I will probably run the dehydrator at least once. And then I've got like dried minced onion for the year as well. So that will hopefully be enough onions to last, maybe not a full year, but hopefully in that direction. So I'm actually going to take you over and show you a garden bed that I haven't ever shown you before, because it's an interesting one this year. So I'm going to walk over there and I'll be right back. All right, I'm going to show you this right quick. This is our oldest raspberry bush, and it is still jamming. We have been getting raspberries. I've been picking probably a half a gallon a day, every 2 to 3 days off of this, and they're starting to slow down now. But yum, I come out here and I love picking these, and I've got several packages in the freezer now that I'm going to wait until I have plenty. I need to get some pectin, and then I'm going to make some jelly. On the other side of this is what's supposed to be my herb bed. And I know it looks a mess, but I promise everything's in there mostly for a reason. There is all of this big bushy stuff is dill. So yay, we love dill. I love making like refrigerator pickles and canning dill pickles. So I come out and pick dill weed. So there are two things that you can get off of dill. There's this little fuzzy stuff, and that's dill weed, and then these will turn into the seed heads, and then you have dill seed, which are two totally different things, and they have similar flavor but not exactly the same. In there also, last fall, I planted garlic, so you can see a bunch of those sprigging up. I missed one. This is called a garlic scape, and I missed one of those, so I need to come out and clip that off, and you can eat those. You make really good pesto, or you can grill them, and they're really good. There are also potatoes growing in here, and it was, I was washing potatoes last year as we were digging them up, and we had a bunch of like the little bitty ones that I just didn't know what to do with, and I was like, I'll just throw them over here, and they grew. So this is actually the second year that they have come up, plus the extra that I threw in there. So it's fine. Like, it's not a big deal. Dill. Yeah, okay. This year I also purchased an oregano plant, and then back in there somewhere, I can't even see it right now. Oh, there, right back in there is parsley. So I need to come out and get that taken care of as well, and to go ahead and start clipping it and drying it. I'm kind of thinking I will probably leave the oregano to just grow this year and not clip it, but the parsley is big enough that I will harvest off of it. But the oregano has like quadrupled in size since I planted it. And then this big tall thing is a milkweed that we got a start off of from a friend of ours, and it is, I think, the 3rd year that we've had it come up in there. I probably need to transplant it because it's not ideal. It will take over this whole thing. It's already, there's 3 stalks of it. Hi, Kitty. So I probably need to go ahead and come out and transplant it at some point, and hope that it does okay. I won't transplant it now, but like in the spring next year. And we do occasionally have a monarch caterpillar on there. We had, I think, 2 last year. So I'm hoping that the more that it grows every year coming back, the more we will attract, because they'll know to come back and eat off of it. So that dill is self-seeded, by the way, which is why there's so much of it. Because, yeah, I don't need that much, but I'm probably going to save it anyway. I have a recipe for a dilly bread that was my grandma made, and it's really good. It makes really good sandwich bread because it's just kind of, it's got that dill flavor to it. So, all right, that is the herb bed. One of these days I'll take it back. I need to find a different place to plant the garlic every year. But yeah, all right, that is that. I'm going to take you out to the big garden next. All right, here is an overview of our big garden. This one is approximately 40 feet by 100 feet, so she's a biggin. And I love it. I love having all of this space because I can play around with it and grow whatever I want to grow. So down here is our experiment area. Hello, that's our mama kitty. This is our experimental area this year. So here we had a ice cream bucket of radish seeds that I had dried, I think 2 to 3 years ago. And they had been in our barn for a solid year. And I was like, I don't know whether these are going to come up or not. Let's try it. And the worst that happens is that I let it all go to seed and we get radish seeds off of it. And then I can plant them again next year. And they did great. These were just kind of like 3 patches where we literally like scraped dirt back, sprinkled in some of these seed pods, covered it up and let it grow. We did harvest 1 radish off of it, and it was so spicy that it was not edible. So that's okay, because like I said, I was intending on just kind of having these 4 seeds. Down at the other end, because I wasn't able to start seeds this year, I wanted to try direct sowing pepper seeds. And as you can see, they're doing great. I have a few that didn't come up, but I also have some that there are like a bunch in, like 5 in one area. So when they get a little bit bigger, I will probably pull them apart and spread them. And I may even spread them this way because there's nothing in this area. So I was excited about that because if these work, I may just never start, peppers from seeds again indoors. I may just do it like this. I have a friend of mine that literally starts everything, even tomatoes, indoor, and has great success with it. So we'll see. You know, it's worth a try. Real quick, over here, this is our asparagus bed, and then underneath it is strawberries. They grow in the same bed. And as you can see, it's just half this. I extended it out over here this year and made it bigger. That area I just laid cardboard and we've put grass down. So I'm kind of killing it, and then next year I'm going to start moving some of the runners plants over so that we can spread the strawberries out and have more strawberries. Along the fence, these are wild black raspberries. There's some sunflowers that I transplanted out of the garden that self-seeded before we tilled. And then down there are other raspberries that I've transplanted, some wineberries. There's a yellow raspberry here, and then a mulberry tree. And we did get, mulberries were huge this year. We had a really long, cool spring, and I think it just liked that. So I was happy about that. These two fences got moved this year. They were kind of down where the green beans are last year. So we moved those, and the cucumbers are growing on them, and they are doing great so far. In the past, we have had bad luck with squash beetles, vine borer beetles, whatever you want to call them. And so I have not put anything on these yet. I have fought the good fight. I have picked off beetles. I have burned eggs. I have put diatomaceous earth down. I've done BT. I've done all the things to try to get rid of them, and nothing works. And this year I broke down and bought 7 Dust, which is a pesticide. And I absolutely hated, like I cried almost, sprinkling this stuff on the base of these plants, because I try really hard to grow as clean and environmentally friendly as I can, and not doing something that's going to kill the pollinators and that kind of thing. But we were literally getting nothing or next to nothing off of these plants. So this year I am putting up the good fight. So pretty soon I need to come out and put on all the cucumbers as well, because they will attack those. Some of these don't look great because I transplanted where there were like 2 in one spot. I transplanted some, so they've just got a little bit of a shock to them. I need to come out and give them a little drink of water, and they'll be all right. Should be, at least. But yeah, the cucumbers are looking great. I am really hoping to can dill pickles this year, because we have been buying dill pickles this past year like a lot, and it would be nice to not have to buy some. There are also sunflowers planted in. The other thing that I still need to come out and do is plant marigolds in various places, because that keeps the Japanese bean beetles away, or at least helps. All right. I ended up splitting up the vining plants because I really needed the green beans to be further away from where they were the last 2 years. I wanted to kind of not plant them anywhere near where they had been. So I split the vining plants up. So this half, there is a blue Hubbard squash, which is supposed to be a trap plant, which means it pulls in the vine borer beetles, and the vine borer beetles like it better than anything else. I did not notice a huge difference last year, but the plants were neat, and the fruit is edible and was neat, so I went ahead and planted. There's one here, and then there's one over on the other end. There is a volunteer tomato that I'm going to let do its thing. I am looking at this one, and I'm seeing some death happening here, and I hope that doesn't mean that the vine borer beetles have hit it before the stuff has even had a chance to work. We'll see, because that's a pumpkin, like a little decorative pumpkin size one. You can also use it to eat, so I hope that's not what's going on there. And then this is 3 cantaloupes, because that's a fruit that my kids really like, and they are actually already starting to bloom, so we'll see how well they do. The next is, I did 2 rows of green beans. I may very well come back and do somewhere, maybe where the potatoes are, come back and do 2 small rows of green beans over there. We have a elderly friend of ours that last year I was able to can like 50 some pints, I think, of green beans. She is single. Her husband passed away last year. She's a widow. And so I was able to can for her, and she has already said, oh, please do that again. I would love that. So my intention was, we still have some bags of, hang on, there's a car coming past. Sorry, it's always awkward filming. I'm not one of those people that's comfortable like filming out in public. One, very few people in my real life know that I have a YouTube channel. Because I don't know, like I'm actually like a really private person in my real life. So like, I don't know, just the idea of people watching my YouTube channel skeeves me out for whatever reason. Anyway, so green beans, I still have, because that room that we are doing renovation for, normally that's where my canning shelf is set up. And, so all of my canned goods were in boxes under a shelf in my kitchen. And so I've been able to kind of work out of them, but we did not eat almost any canned green beans this year. We ate frozen green beans because I did a half and half. So we're down to about 12 bags of, maybe less than that, of frozen green beans. So I don't need a whole lot of canned green beans. I will just freeze for us. So that's why I just did 2 rows this year. And like I said, kind of giving myself a break. I did grow enough last year to give to 2 other households green beans. So this year, I think I only need to give to 1 household. The other household is doing a little bit better. If she needs some, I will gladly share though. And like I said, I can always plant more. And then we've got some later growing green beans. This, I guess I should explain, the corn stalk. This is where we have fed our chickens corn, whole corn, during the winter. And a stalk of corn has sprung up, and the kids insisted that I leave it and let the field corn grow in the middle of the garden. Okay, whatever. We do what we do. Okay, down here, I tried planting 3 hills of watermelon, and only one of them came up. It came up good, but only one of them came up. And I have not gotten grass on this end yet. That's this weekend. And we should, the next time we mow, what we catch should be enough to cover the rest of this garden. So 1 watermelon did make it. These 2 were supposed to be the other watermelons, and they didn't, so I went ahead and planted spaghetti squash. I wasn't going to plant spaghetti squash, but I was like, yeah, I might as well. That, I think, is the other, yes, because I planted them catty-cornered. That's the other blue Hubbard squash, and then this is a Kajari melon, which is, it's kind of like it's in the cantaloupe family kind of thing, but it's different. It's not American, which I don't know that any melons are, but it's definitely different. We've grown it before, and my aunt gave me seeds that she had purchased from Baker's Creek, I'm wanting to say, maybe. Behind that, I had children help me plant sunflowers. Can you tell? They overplanted a little bit. This end more than this end, for whatever reason. Probably because we planted and then chickens came out and dug up where we had planted and ate the sunflowers. So that's kind of why they're spacey. But there are like 3 or 4 in every hole. And it's fine. They'll grow. And I always love having like a wall of sunflowers. And this is everything from like small ornamental sunflowers to like the big giant, like 15-foot tall, big, huge headed sunflowers. And what we do is we just grow them. At the end of the season, we will bend them down or cut the tops off and just let the chickens have them. Or the birds a lot of times eat a bunch of it too. So, yeah, I just love sunflowers. I love walking out here and having all of these beautiful sunflowers to look at. On the other side of that, I have a cat trying to love on me here, is 2 rows of zinnias is the other thing that's there. I also kind of like the privacy that the row of sunflowers allots, because it gives me somewhere to be. Like if I'm working in the garden, then I don't have to worry about, like people seeing my sweaty mess. The zinnias are getting ready to bloom too. Hi, kitty cat. Like, look, they're starting to set on heads. And there's also 1 sunflower. Also, we noticed there's a sunflower in the field over there somehow as well. We just keep spreading the love. So yeah, these are already, I would say 4 feet tall at least, because they're about to my chin. So yeah, about 4.5 feet tall. Yeah, they're about to chin height. Yay. They grow so fast. Sunflowers are also really good at, they pull toxins out of the ground. It takes a long time. Like you have to plant, if you wanted to like clean up a waste site, it could be 100 years of planting sunflowers over and over and over again, but they do. Which is kind of cool. So having those in rotation in your garden isn't a bad thing either, because if there's anything in your ground, like our barn sits there, but there used to be another pole barn here, like almost exactly where about 2/3 of the garden is. And it burned down, and they just kind of scraped everything off, but we find glass and melted metal and nails and all kind of stuff in the garden. We've gotten most of it out at this point. But we occasionally still do. My little guy was out here with the metal detector, metal detecting the garden. Because we still occasionally will find a piece of metal or broken glass or whatnot. We've gotten to the point now where we're comfortable walking barefoot, but when we first put this garden in, we did not. It was also like a crazy amount of rocks, and there still are a pretty heavy amount of small rocks, and then every once in a while we dig up a big one. I just pulled a decent sized one out. I was doing something, running the hoe, something like that. I don't remember what I was doing now that I hit this one here. Yeah, just in the ground. Okay, whatever. So, yeah. All right, that is the whole garden. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I needed to tell you. Like I said, the last time we mowed, we covered all of this except for this little patch here. I have spent, like I said, the last several days. Last year, I set a goal of coming out and working in the garden for an hour a day. If that meant planting, if that meant weeding, if that meant running the hoe, if that meant picking produce, whatever. And I found that by doing that, I stayed on top of the weeds pretty well. So my intention is to do that again this year. And so every day this week, I have been coming out. Like this morning, I got up and was out in the garden by about 8:30 this morning. And it was already hot. But I was able to pull weeds for over an hour this morning, about an hour and a half. Went inside and did schoolwork. So it was just one of those where that works well on, that's a reasonable amount of time where it's not, I'm not out here for hours and hours, because then probably, I know Sundays I don't come out and Saturdays are iffy because that's usually when I clean the house, get everything ready for the weekend, like for Sunday, taking the day off. So that's 5 hours a week. That's not awful. Like not even a part-time job. But then usually what happens is in the fall, then when I'm starting to really pull the produce out and spending a bunch of time, look at the beautiful sunset, doing canning and all that kind of thing, then I generally kind of give up on the garden on pulling weeds. At that point, the plants are well established enough that a few weeds is not going to hurt anything. So, beautiful. Oh, here, hang on just a second. I figured I'd show you the chicken fence now. It is literally right next door to the kitchen, or to the big garden. And yes, I hear you, sir. That's our guard goose. He's doing his job because he even guards against me. During the summer, they're on this, and you can see it is an overgrown mess, and they love it. It gives them places to hide. It gives them places. This is like some cinder blocks with a pallet on top. There's actually two of them. There's one way over here. And it's got a tarp on top, so it gives them places to go when it rains, when it's hot. They have somewhere sheltered, but even still, I will see them just kind of hunkered down in the grass. A lot of times we do need to come out and clean the edges up so that it's not grounding it out, because this fence is electrified. Not right now because I'm out here, but this whole thing, all of these wires are electrified. Hang on. Sorry, there's somebody that lives nearby that has this loud dune buggy that rides it out through the country. Out here, like, you'll see people on like the UTVs and the golf carts and just all manner of stuff out of an evening, just relaxing and chilling and taking a nice little casual drive. So, anywho, this is where the chickens are. This is our main coop. It is the Chickshaw by Justin Rhodes. And then this smaller one is what we call the penitentiary, and I don't remember what the name of the building plans are. It's starting to look a little worse for the wear. We've had it the longest. And it is where, if we have chickens that get out of the fence, they get out of the fence once and we clip their wings, which is just clipping some of the ends of their feathers off. It does not hurt them at all. It's like clipping your fingernails. But it makes them unbalanced in their flying, so it makes it harder for them to get over the fence. If we catch them again outside the fence, then they go into the penitentiary because they are no longer allowed out. If we leave them out, they will get in the garden and they will eat everything before I get the chance to. So that's a no-no in my book. So they go in there and they get moved. You can see the spots where it's been. They get moved about once every 3 days and they completely kill the grass for me. So I just kind of do that and then the grass will come back and it's not a big deal. But it keeps them all contained. And yes, I see you staring me down, Goose. We do still have 2 guineas as well. We lost one this winter. We have no idea what happened to it because it just completely up and disappeared. But guineas are bad about not wanting to stay in the fence. So, yeah, she probably got out and decided to sleep in a tree and got eaten. There's not really much we can do about it. But yeah. That's our pasture-raised chickens that make us some delicious eggs. I actually need to go in the house and wash up 7 dozen to take to a friend tomorrow because tomorrow's the 4th of July. Yay! So, that is the garden beginning of July. I hope to do this once a month to show you how things grow. You'll be astounded at how much bigger the sunflowers are, and we should be getting green beans by the next time I film. We'll probably be getting cucumbers by the next time we film. I am going to pull garlic over the next week or so. Potatoes will probably be done by the time I film again. It's amazing how much it all changes. Just in that short period, that short month. I could probably do this once a week, but I feel like they would get boring, so. All right. Yeah. What are you growing in your garden this year? Are you growing anything unique and different? I try to experiment with new things every year. This year I'm not growing anything new for the most part, but experimenting with like those radishes and peppers. I'm so excited that the peppers are working because I will 100% just plant directly. The biggest issue is just keeping them weeded because the little tiny weeds look like the little tiny plants. I'd also thought about trying direct seeding broccoli. And seeing how that does. I have not had any luck with growing broccoli from seed this year. I bought broccoli plants last year from a local greenhouse and they did amazing. Huge heads of broccoli. We had broccoli out of our ears through the winter, and I went to buy some this year and they said that all of their suppliers, none of it grew. So all of their suppliers had nothing to sell. So I was like, oh, that's a total bummer. So I could try direct seeding a batch of broccoli this fall. Like I would need to probably start it pretty soon. But I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. So, all right. But yeah, what are you growing? Anything interesting and new? Because I always love to try new things and I always love to grow new things. I think next year our intention is to attempt meat birds is kind of our next adventure. This year with the bird flu issue that was going around, it was next to impossible to get chicks, and they were about 3 times the price that they normally are. So we didn't do it this year. I wanted to do it this year, but maybe next year we'll see. If nothing else, we have talked about, we own an incubator that was a hand-me-down from someone, and attempting to hatch out our own barnyard mixes and keep the females for laying eggs and butcher the males for eating. So we'll see if that happens. Maybe that'll happen. That would be interesting. So yeah. All right. Show you the sunset one more time. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Happy Independence Day if you are here in America. If you're not, I don't know. Happy we're Independent Day. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, so I hope you guys are all well, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye and God bless.